Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and to our ongoing study and to our brand new study. Let me explain. Teilhard de Chardin wrote his phenomenology in 2 volumes. The first volume was the phenomenology of man. Our last lesson was a composite summary of Teilhard's phenomenology of man. Volume 2 is what we will begin now, and Volume 2 is Teilhard's phenomenology of the divine. So now we're going to look at a same topic, phenomenology, but Volume 2 addresses the phenomenology of the divine. And we're going to start out with just look at the introduction to Volume 2, pages 7 to 17. In Block 1, we're going to look at the objective within of the world soul. In Block 2, we're going to look at the subjective inner aspect of divinization. And then in Block 3, we're going to take a look at the practical life of sanctification. Objectivity, subjectivity, and sanctification. Let's go to Block 1 and we'll get started. The ever-mounting inner aspect of creation, and the Apostle Paul's lecture at the remnant of Plato's Academy in the 1st century. Stimulating the interrelated sympathies of the soul. New discoveries in physics are actually stimulating the sympathies of the soul. Because Teilhard says we live in the consciousness of the universe. It's a collective consciousness, and we are living within a collective consciousness that is awakening. Individually, we recognize the true dimensions of life. Now, because of this, feelings of anxiety and feelings of fascination arise. There's anxiety, obviously, over living in a very secular culture that ignores the divine. Our question is this: how does Christ form the center of our expanding physical universe? Remember, Teilhard is a scientist first, a priest second. Block 1, Note 2. The collective awakening to the true dimension of life leads to a recognition within the realm of knowing. In this Volume 2, Teilhard is assuming that his readers already know Volume 1. He assumes that the reader has already gone through Volume 1 and fully understands Volume 1. So, the realm of knowing is something we should already be aware of. Think of the realm of knowing as similar to the ancient Greek gathering in the marketplace called the agora, where ideas were discussed and debated. And then Teilhard says we should recall the Apostle Paul's teaching at the Areopagus, the political building in Athens, where the remnant of Plato's Academy was meeting. The Academy had long been already destroyed, but the philosophers were still meeting at the Appeals Court building in Athens in a colonnade area. Paul was teaching at the Areopagus, where the remnant of Plato's Academy was meeting. And Paul taught that God is perceptible within the divine atmosphere that envelops all of us and envelops all of creation. We must be taught to see spiritually the hidden inner aspect of all creation. Paul said God is perceptible. Through spiritual vision, we can perceive the divine. Block 1, Note 3, the divine radial penetration. The divine penetrates the layers of creation as universal activity, where God is both transcendent and immanent at the same time. There you go, Karl Barth. God is transcendent and immanent at the same time. We must focus our soul's eye in order to face the ever-mounting inner significance of creation. And that's true. We do that every day. If we live in the realm of spirit, and if you are a genuine disciple of Jesus Christ, then you do live in the realm of spirit. If you continually pray, continually focus your spiritual mind's eye, then you are living in the realm of spirit. That's exactly what we do. And we have to keep that sensitivity alive by spending time in the Word, in the Scriptures, and then by doing that, we actually do remember to focus, to imprint the heart with Christ, to imprint the mind with Christ, and we really do practice that focusing of the soul's eye so that we can see the inner spiritual within of all creation and of our own particular history. Let's go to block 2. What do we mean by the phenomenology of divinization? Now, this is not a concept usually used in conservative faith like we are at 121. It's usually a term used frequently in the Greek Orthodox Church of theosis. They call it theosis. But divinization is probably something you wouldn't hear of unless you went to seminary or divinity school, but it is a theological term. We're going to discuss it here in Block 2, but usually you wouldn't hear about this unless, say, you were a member of a Greek Orthodox congregation. The active sphere of our character development. Our act of obedience is to grow spiritually. It's an expansion of our own inner energia. It's an act of great spontaneity in order to master the passive modes that influence our lives. There are passive modes of existence that try to imprint us all the time. Secular society. I'll just give you one example. The woke agenda is frequently brought up on the internet, and that is a passive mode in our society that tries to imprint you, that tries to imprint me. I will not let it imprint me, but the woke agenda is one of those examples. And through the development of our spiritual character, we try to master those secular passive modes that try to influence us. Now, Teilhard says, Block 2, Note 2, our character is expressed in universal categories and universal concepts, discovered in the two phases that influence character. The active phase, and then there's the active phase of our own acts, and then the passive phase of being acted upon. Now here we move into the realm of spirit, Block 2, Note 3. We must recognize that there is a positive passive phase of the divine. There is a passive phase that tries to influence us, which is very positive. There is a divine phase of life that is trying to imprint us as well. That's a very positive divine phase, where human action becomes sanctified as that which we do in the name of Christ, that which we do in union with Christ, in participation with Christ. Now, I love this term that I don't know French, so I'm sure I'm going to butcher this, but Teilhard uses a resuscitare. He says we're talking about a resuscitare. The Spirit brings us back to spiritual consciousness in Christ, where we sanctify the natural zones of our existence. We want our consciousness to abide in the consciousness of Christ. We want our life to abide in the life of Christ and the history of Christ. To be awakened to that is called resuscitare. To be awakened to that obligation and that opportunity is called resuscitare. So block 1 gave us the inner aspect of creation, where we recognize that inner aspect in the realm of knowing. In the realm of knowing, if you remember from the volume 1, the realm of knowing is where we participate in the law of complexification. We create an ontological genetic order of reality, or a worldview. We discover the internal aspect that is obtruding itself and making itself known in our reality. That is the realm of knowing for Teilhard. That was from volume 1. Now we go to block 3. We sanctify the natural zones of existence through divinization becoming practical. So block 2 is all about that subjective inner aspect in our life, but that has to be worked out in a practical way in the realm of thought. Remember volume 1? We have to practice witnessing, sharing our faith, sharing our worldview. Block 3, note 1. The internal tension of two rival stars. The two rival stars that compete in our life are God and the secular world. They exist in tension within the spiritual layers of our being. This tension is resolved in 3 possible ways. We can live a distorted life, where we confine our life to the extreme of just living in a purely organized religious objectification. Religion is closed in around us. We could live a disgusted life. We dismiss the evangelical entirely, and we choose to live a secular life only. And then 3, the divided life. We refuse to make sense of the tension between God and the world, and we gradually acquiesce to just being a divided human being, a divided identity that does not identify with God or world, but remains incomplete and divided. In our culture today, our secular society is, I would use a more severe term, fragmented. Our society, the individual's inner society and society as a whole, is fragmented. And only the healing Spirit of God can heal fragmentation. In New Testament Greek, that is called irene. We translate that as peace in the Bible, but irene literally means healing of fragmentation. Salvation in the Scriptures is depicted as a healing of fragmentation. So I agree with Teilhard. In our culture today, it's all about that third aspect, the divided life. Our secular society is unfinished, divided, fragmented, in need of healing, holistic healing, and for the most part, God is ignored, and unfortunately, in our 21st century, God is frequently, and I mean that, frequently mocked. I didn't think we'd ever see this in my lifetime, but God is openly mocked in today's culture. And I've mentioned it before, but the Paris, France opening ceremonies for the Olympics, Summer Olympics, disgusting mocking of the Last Supper. Horrible. No apology, no feelings of regret. Paris, France, they chose to openly mock Jesus Christ. The other example that I've shared frequently is the scholar who is sprinkled all over the internet. I mean, he's everywhere. And that scholar from North Carolina. And that's Professor Bart Ehrman from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, is a previous fundamentalist Christian who is now a self-proclaimed agnostic and a self-proclaimed atheist. And when you listen to his lectures on the internet, he openly mocks Christ through cynicism. Now, this is a scholar that has been blessed with an education from God, by God, and yet he gives God no thankfulness, no credit, and instead he chooses to mock Christ openly through cynicism. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. So let's go to Block 3, Note 2. There is a fourth possibility. We should reconcile the tension between God and the world through a spiritual enrichment of life. The value of our intentions determine the active sphere of our existence. We should posit a purity of intention, which means to act in conformity with God's will, to act with a faithful act of freedom in conformity to the will of God. That is something that is not happening in our world today. Teilhard says, the intentions of our actions determine the value of our actions. The intention of our actions should be pure and established in the will of God, pure and established solely in the Word of God and in the truth of the divine. We've got a very good beginning here. Like I said, this is the first introductory lesson to Teilhard's Phenomenology of the Divine. He wrote his phenomenology in 2 volumes. Luckily, we had a tremendous study in Volume 1. Volume 1 is very philosophical. Volume 2 is going to be very theological. Volume 1, we ended up with a 8-step composite summary of his Phenomenology of Man. We went from pre-life to the noumenal realm, to the movement of cyclical states, to reaching fuller being, to the illuminating realm of knowing, to the objective within, the crossing of the realm of thought, threshold, to the realm of complexification, which is the realm of positing for Teilhard. And then we returned back over that realm of threshold, realm of thought threshold, back to the movement of cyclical states in a return moment, and the dialectical circle runs continuously. So we looked at that phenomenology of man in a composite summary of 8 steps, and that is available in the playlist here. You can review that anytime you want. And what we're going to do now is, with that in front of us, with that summary chart of the phenomenology of man, we can get a better opportunity to grasp fully Teilhard's phenomenology of the divine. That's a great look. It's a good beginning. That is pages 7 to 17 on the introduction to Teilhard's phenomenology of the divine. Next lesson, we pick up on page 18 in Volume 2, Teilhard's phenomenology of the divine.